So I think the challenge exists is, how are you going to find out where the activity is? Where is the data? Where does it reside? And who should drive the responsibility, or that should drive the responsibility for who really is managing that. I think having, internal thresholds, determining when tax liability is tripped and how it will be administered if it is for different situations. And then the same thing for immigration, defining what's business travel and what's work travel is key. Work can be done on day one and it might require a work permit, or, you might be able to be in a location for 30 days if what you're doing is truly considered, just business visit.
So for the tax considerations, we obviously got the corporate tax considerations of a virtual assignment, but also that will then have a knock-on effect to the personal tax situation. So if you are employed by one country, but instead of being physically present in another country, you are perhaps working for that country, so you're generating income for that country, that's obviously going to have knock-on effect. And likewise, with regards to the social security. So, for example, if you are on a virtual assignment, but maybe you've decided that you're going to spend a little bit of time working elsewhere, if you're spending more than 5% of your working time outside your home location, technically you'll be classed as a multi-state worker. There's the different considerations to bear in mind. Also, I think one thing that is becoming more complicated with social security is around the rationale if you are happening to be in a host for a country, whereas previously you would have been classed as being posted by your employer, which would have made the certificate that you'd have to put more straightforward. Nowadays, you can't always say you've been posted by your employer if there is not a reason for your employer to have sent you there. And I've seen that is creating different social security implications that we've not really seen before.
For global mobility, our number one priority as well in relation to supporting the businesses to ensure that any relocation is compliant. So our key priorities are always going to be our tax and our immigration, as well as any other compliance elements. We will ensure that our individuals have the right to work, the right to live in a location, and also the right to travel. We will also ensure that they are tax compliant by providing the individual with briefings to ensure that they understand their tax positions in both locations, and also providing them with tax return support to ensure that reporting is correct in both locations. That often also means liaising with other stakeholders within the business, such as payroll and tax teams, to ensure that they're also doing what needs to be done to ensure our compliance. We don't want to take any risks that could damage the reputation of the company or incur fines, risk our sponsorship license and ability to arrange any international relocations in the future.
I am ensuring that I continually have open communication with all of my stakeholders across the business. So whether that be hiring managers, whether that be talent acquisition, HR business partners, our legal team.
Go.
I traditionally will sit in on staff meetings that occur. I have structured lunch and learns where it's purely an information session for anyone in HR that wants to listen in and see what the latest and greatest is from a mobility perspective. Sending out communications, particularly if there are sort of changes that may be occurring from a mobility landscape perspective that may impact our broader employee population. Communication is key.
It's very important that human mobility works with legal. For us, let's say, backbone to our operations is the legal team, because we need to understand the legislation and local restrictions that we might have. Of course, for us, the number one rule is the labor law of the company, the legislation, and then the company law, or the company policy. And that is why it's very important to keep this relationship between the legal team and ourselves to make sure that we provide the right information with the minimum risk that we will have.
Some of the key challenges were immigration, taxes, taxes in the form of, will this now create a permanent establishment issue? Who's responsible for certain taxes? So though it may sound easy, it's just remote work, and this can be done. It's borderless. There are no issues involved. There are a multitude of challenges
across all the different geographies. To the employee, global mobility is the organization investment into their career, as well as creating valid opportunities in their career advancement. Being able to progress, especially in my organization where I work, one of the key determinants into your career progression, if you're looking at a vertical career progression, is to have geographical exposure in different markets. And how are you going to get that? True, there are what we call virtual assignments, but in order to be able to soak the local knowledge, to be able to learn from your colleagues without being physically there, still can be challenging. But global mobility truly support the employee in pushing forward their career progression.
Global mobility to the business is a function that allows business to continue and prosper, because that function is allowing the business to get what they need, a talent what they need to get what they need done to meet the business goal.
Global mobility team is more like a very complex puzzle that they constantly need to figure out, but there is no one answer and it's never going to be over. Because as a global mobility professionals, as a team, we always know that there will be always challenges, there will be always legislation changes, different complexities, trends in the business, the expectation from the business and the employees. So it's, I would say for global mobility team, it's more like a very enjoyable big puzzle that you constantly need to figure out, but it's never going to be over.
Global mobility is the enabler that helps talent acquisition, fills the gaps in resources where we need talent across the globe. Without global mobility, talent acquisition would not be able to facilitate a mobile workforce in order to support the need for talent that we have in all of our different business sections across the globe.